What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Candid Couch Conversations. My name is AJ,
Oh yeah, I'm Tahj.
and today we are talking about mind over matter, taking
Yeah,
control of your mental health. So, you know what to do. Everybody get on the couch. Let's talk about it. All right. Before we start, though, Taj, how was your week so
what
far?
week is this?
Uh,
Oh, I mean, so far so good. Honestly, with the weeks, it's been a few weeks since we last talked to the people,
yeah.
but um, you know, ironically, a fitting time to have this conversation, to say the least. But but we're here, we're here. So just like any conversation that's on the couch, first and foremost, because this topic may be a little bit heavy, um, we're gonna go ahead and put out there potential trigger warnings. You know, could be conversations about our personal lives, some of which could be triggering to others. We'll try to stay away from topics of self-harm, stay away from any type of uh, sexual traumas, anything like that. It's really more just a generalization of mental health, working through different things, some coping mechanisms that we personally use.
For
Thank
most
you.
of this talk, it'll probably be just our own personal um, things going on, whether it's with ourselves, whether it's with family members, that we just want to share with you all because who knows, maybe someone else may be going through the same thing that we had to go through or whatever, and you just didn't know that you had someone to commiserate with. So here
For
we are.
sure. I do think, AJ, in the past two episodes, we did leave out some information about ourselves. And in light of Trans Day of Visibility, I think it's time to tell the people we are two transgender men.
That's right.
Um, and if
Two
you,
proud transgender men.
amen, hallelujah.
Amen.
And if you are not aware, for whatever reason, the political climate is crazy when it when it comes to trans life. So we will be talking about some of our experiences when it comes to just transitioning. May talk about pre-election and how life is post-election. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is why mental health matters. Um, and mainly because you really can't function without having your mental health intact, so to speak. I mean, you can do things, yes. Like I'll give you a personal experience. Um, for me, with my daughter went through a mental health crisis recently, and she literally could not function at all.
Mm,
Like she didn't want to get out of bed. She didn't want to eat. She lost so much weight. She went down to like a little under 80 pounds, so much. Um, and it got to the point where she didn't know what to do. So she made the conscious decision, and we were so proud of her. She made the conscious decision to check herself in to the mental hospital.
mm.
And I was a little leery because I'm like, okay, I don't know what they do once you get checked in because, as a parent, you want to make sure your child is safe and they're being protected and respected. And then once you go through those doors, no parents allowed, you don't know what's happening. But it ended up being a great experience. We could come to see her. She had her phone. She could call us or text us. We could call her and text her. And she really liked being there because you're basically sitting there with yourself,
Yeah.
so, and she came out feeling a lot better about herself. She was able to get the meds that she needed, get the time that she needed, and get the help that she needed. So it really helped her to be able to function where today, um, She moved out, she moved with her fiance, she's working now, and she's thriving because she made that conscious decision to get help. And she recognized that she did have mental health issues. So, and we stood by her, we supported her, and we still do. So, mental health really, really matters just for you to function. I mean, when I tell you she couldn't get out of bed, she couldn't get out of bed. It's not that she wouldn't, she couldn't. And when you get to that point, then that's when you really need to seek help. And I'm glad that she did. So yeah, that's my personal experience with it.
Yeah. I mean, that could be hard, especially as a parent, like watching your child have to like live this reality. But I also think it's important to find out like how you were supported in those moments. Because I feel like, yeah, we'll get into that. But we'll get into that. Yeah, I think that's a very real thing. And I think it's also good that she was able to identify, hey, I need professional assistance here. And this is the avenue that I feel that is best for me. And again, you supporting her in that just, makes all the difference. So shout out to you, parent.
Yeah, my wife and I, we were there the whole time. As a matter of fact, my wife, she's like a counselor
Mm,
for adults. So she was the one who suggested that maybe she should look into getting professional help in the sense of going to the mental hospital.
mm,
Because we tried, I don't know how long, to get her therapy,
yeah.
but because of the extent of her mental health issues, every time she went to a particular therapist or an organization, they would always say they couldn't help her.
Mm,
So it became frustrating to us, it became frustrating to her until she just gave up. And that's when my wife suggested maybe she should check herself in because they have the capacity in the hospital to take her wherever she needs to go with her insurance, because of course insurance plays a big part of it. And that's what she ended up doing, and she got the help she needed. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll say I've had my own personal struggles. Just I don't have no kids, so more power to y'all people with children. So but for me personally, mental health is it's just a struggle. It's like a daily struggle, honestly. Like, let's be honest, like we're humans and we go through things, and you're not always taught how to deal with those things, especially when it's like a negative emotion. So I just think I remember I was in high school and I'm a Cancer. What does that mean? I have emotions. And what does that also
So
mean?
am
I'm a
I.
lover. And what does that mean when you break my heart? I spiral. So therefore, I was in high school and I spiraled. And ironically, I actually spiraled myself into having seizures.
Mm.
And I think that's the one thing that people don't really understand. Like you hear a lot like, oh, stress has a negative impact on your body. But I don't think people really understand like when your mental health can affect your physical health. Like for real, I am not an epileptic. I don't take medicine. But if I stress, I can have anxiety attacks that show up like epileptic seizures. And I'm like full out epileptic seizures. When I was like going through the motions of trying to be evaluated, because of course they're trying to rule out do you have epilepsy or is there something else? The neurologist at the time actually told me about another child that was there. I don't think they were there at the same time as me, but maybe like before me that was also dealing with heightened anxiety. And it showed up for them in the physical sense of they went blind. Like they stressed themselves to no sight. And so, like, yeah, needless to say, mental health is very, very important. But I will say that and this kind of like takes us into our next topic of when you're trying to deal with mental health, right? And the stigmas that come along with that. Like especially in the Black community, right? So I distinctly remember also going to like my peoples, you know, my parentals, and saying things like, I think I'm depressed. I think I have anxiety. And being met with, no, you don't.
Hmm.
Like, and it's like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
what do you
I
do with
mean,
that?
I listen, I grew up in the 70s, okay?
Mm,
I'm an older man. I may not look like it because but I'm an
we
older
look about the
man.
same age.
I grew up, yeah, see, but growing up in the 70s and the 80s, it's like everybody had like that one family member who was just deemed crazy. Back then, mental health wasn't, they weren't words that we put together.
Mm,
It wasn't talked about. And in the Black community, it was a stigma because it's like, yes, this person has a problem. We don't know what to call it. We don't want to acknowledge it to be a problem. So we're just going to call them crazy. And everyone just called that family member crazy. Well, what's wrong with your Uncle Buddy? Well, he crazy. Ain't nothing
hmm.
wrong with him, but he crazy. That was the answer. Ain't nothing wrong with him, but he crazy. But how do we get from that? Like there was
Yeah,
no type of anything regarding mental health growing up for
yeah.
me. And it's like now, and I'll tell you, for me, my aunt, my mother's baby sister, has mental health issues. She always had. But like I said, there was no such thing. So they just always called her crazy
Hmm.
to the point where she chose to be homeless. She
Mm,
had a house. She lived with my grandmother when my grandmother passed away back in the late 80s. She left my aunt the house. It was
hmm.
paid for, everything. My aunt left all her stuff there, left the house, and never came back. And she's been living on the street ever since, even to this day.
Yeah,
But that was
yeah,
her choice. But everyone would be like, oh, she's crazy. No, that's mental health. But because we didn't know what it was or what to call it or how to deal with it, then in the Black community, it just became this stigma of crazy, which is sad because if she would have gotten the help that she needed, she may have had a different outcome.
yeah. I think it also, like I said, I mean, it kind of goes into advocating as well, but also feeling safe enough to advocate for yourself.
Yeah,
And it's like, of course, if you're just gonna write me off as crazy, why am I gonna keep coming to you saying like I think something is wrong? Like
right,
you're telling me something like I'm just crazy, and okay, fine, I'll just be crazy.
right.
I also think that just living in the trans experience, there's that stigma of just men and mental health. And so when it comes to voicing, hey, I feel I feel this way about something, you know what I'm saying? Or I'm not mentally okay. You're kind of looked at, especially those that don't know your experience, right? It's like,
Yeah.
"Well, just figure it out." It's like, what do you mean just figure it out? Or also, I was also someone that I was anti-therapy for a very long time. And it was more so in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to talk to a stranger about what
Yeah.
I got going on. Like, I don't want to open myself up in that way. I don't want to be vulnerable to someone I don't know. But you learn and you pivot. And what I learned was the stranger is the better person to talk to 95% of the time because they don't have that, you know what I'm saying? Like those biases. They don't have that I'm gonna tell you what I think you want to hear because we have, you know what I'm saying, that personal relationship.
Right.
Or they also don't have that, we're not going to label ourselves with things like bipolar or having depression or having anxiety. It's more so like, no, I recognize these signs and this is what we need to do to make sure that you're okay on your day to day.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's a mental health is a doozy.
Yeah, and it's like, as a trans person, when you deal with not just mental health, and dysphoria is a big part of mental health, and people don't understand how emotional dysphoria can make you when you know what you want and you can't have it. When you
Mm,
when you see that this is what's going to make me me,
mm,
and you're denied access to it, that can literally, like, just take your mind out.
mm-hmm.
Because now, how do I function? How how am I, like my daughter, how am I going to get out of the bed now? Like, how am I going to look at myself? Like, really, I remember before my top surgery, like, I didn't want to see myself in the mirror. Until I transitioned, my whole life, I never looked at myself in a full length mirror. Never.
It's funny that you say that because I also feel like, and this is gonna this may sound a little like even before I had the little bit of facial hair that I do have, and before I feel like my voice dropped the way that where it's at now, I too found that I avoided mirrors, and it's like now now I think about, am I, what is the word? What is the word when you're like conceited? Am I conceited? Because every time I walk past like a window that has my reflection in it, a mirror, I'm like, who's that? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's not in a sense of like conceitedness.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
sense of like, I see me. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like I finally
Like,
see
I
me.
finally see me.
And then
Yes.
and like going back to your the conversation about dysphoria and mental health, the connections of the two, I would I would even say you kind of put yourself in this state, and I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I kind of found that I was in a state of delusion.
Mm.
And it was like to say that I would never look in the mirror or like I put something up so I just never saw myself. No. But
Yeah.
it felt like, am I delusional? Because when I would look in the mirror, I would see someone with a beard. When I would speak, I would hear a deeper voice. When I would look in the mirror, I would intentionally look to see if there's something protruding from my throat that resembled an outer out. You got to say like all these things, and then you meet that with the outside stigmas of you're not supposed to do that. You're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? Like something is wrong with you. What do you mean you were born the wrong gender? That doesn't even make sense. Like, I was
Yeah.
born this gender and I'm fine. Congratulations. But I don't
Exactly.
feel I don't
Exactly.
feel that way. Something is off. And I feel like anytime something is off, what do? You're supposed to go get checked. Go
Yeah.
get go talk to someone. If you feel like your ankle is about to fall off, you go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Like that's just what you do. So, oh. Like for real. You're not just about to walk around with your ankle dangling.
Right?
I mean, let's be sensitive to those. Some people don't have health insurance and they don't have the means to go do it. I'm not saying in that sense. I'm saying more so to those who can. If you have those avenues and you have those resources, cognitively you're not going to be like my ankle is dangling. I have insurance. I can't afford to go to the doctor. I'm just not going to go.
Yeah.
You're calling 911 so they can come pick you up
Exactly.
and take you to the hospital.
And see, that's
So,
another thing. That's a part of it. When you don't have the resources like medical insurance
mm,
to be able to take care of yourself the way you know you should, I mean, that can cause mental health issues as well. on
Yeah.
top of whatever issue that you have that you can't go see about. And people don't understand that one builds on top of the other. So now you have this medical issue.
Hmm.
You can't see about it. So then it becomes this thing of now you have this mental health issue because now you're stressed and you're worried and you're depressed about the fact that you can't go see about this medical issue. So it's
Right.
all intertwined. And it's like, what do you do? Like you just don't know what to do. So I think there are so many little minute things that build upon each other because no one just comes out and has mental health issues. No, there are things that happen that are compounded that cause these issues.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, you don't see the little parts of it. You just know that it's this huge thing and you don't know how to
What to
control it.
do.
You don't know what to do. You don't know where to start, which is why therapy is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Therapy is great. But like you said, like sometimes people can't afford it, you know? And because the one thing about therapy is like it's a great tool to have, but even those people, like people with insurance, you have to find the therapist that takes your insurance plan. And then for those who don't have insurance, it's like trying to find a therapist that is affordable. But
Yeah.
let's be real, the climate that we're in and the job market that we have is trash. Okay? Like like it just is what it is. So it's kind of like what do you do when
Right.
you can't seek someone professionally just because of like the cost? Or sometimes I would say it's like the ease of it all too, but a lot of therapists do virtual appointments and things like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is something that hits different about being face to face with someone,
Yeah.
opposed to
But
meeting
there
over a
are
video
some
call.
people who prefer virtual because they're in a position in their own lives where they don't feel comfortable being in front of someone,
Yeah, that's
you know?
true. That's
Yeah.
true too. True. Well, so my sweatshirt, don't talk to me 3 times. There's no relevance to 3 times. It's just like, don't talk to me. And really, I use this sweatshirt when I'm traveling for the most part, but also it's just a convenient sweatshirt to grab 95% of the time. But
Right.
ironically, in relation to the topic of the month, mental health and mind over matter, I think the first thing you have to start with is breaking this down, right? So, again, as someone who previously did not like to do therapy, and then also internally, I would just internalize a lot of my own emotions because when I would vocalize them, I was either met with what you're thinking is not true or pray about it. And so I turned into this hardened version of myself where it was just like, I'm dealing with all of these things, but because when I try to vocalize them, I'm met with nothing
Yeah.
to say the least. I turn into like, well, just don't talk to me. Like, don't ask me questions. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna talk to you. You don't talk to me. But what happens is, like I said before, all of that stuff just builds up. And then for me personally, it could go into having seizures, or for someone else, the spiral, or the whole I'm not going to do anything today. I'm just going to lay in my bed. And then next thing you know, you've been laying in your bed for a week. Um, so breaking this down, the whole don't talk to me, I'm not going to talk to anybody, I think is like step number one. And like to do that, it doesn't necessarily mean go find your nearest therapist or you know what I'm saying? Like that's not what that necessarily means, but just start small. Like I said, I internalized a lot. So I would just hold everything up here. But the problem is this was the problem. So if I'm constantly just talking to myself in a circle, I'm not solving anything. You get what I'm saying? So I started with journaling. And like that was a way to get it out of here and somewhere else?
All right. I know for me, the way that I cope with not getting stressed, not getting depressed, especially in this political climate now, because I have every right to be stressed and depressed, like for real. But the way that I cope with it, I meditate. I get still, I get quiet, I turn things off, I separate. Sometimes I may just completely cut people off
Mm-hmm.
for a moment just to have those moments for myself. I I don't need all that noise. I don't need to hear the rhetoric of what's happening in the world. I don't need to watch the news. I don't need to talk to this particular person or these groups of people. I just need to sit still
Mm-hmm.
in silence. And sometimes the silence can be very loud in a good way because you get to hear your thoughts and you get to have your mind focused on one particular thing, especially if you're truly meditating. You have to focus. And that keeps me from going off. It keeps me from going crazy. It keeps me from not being stressed. Because like I said, I have every right to be. As a trans man, I have every right to be. But I don't see for me, I don't see the point in putting all of my energy into that.
Yeah.
So in order for me to be able to function, I need my energy. And the only way I'm going to keep my energy is to not get stressed. And the only way that I do not get stressed is to meditate. So that is my main coping mechanism for maintaining um my mental health. Meditation.
Yeah. I know for me, I don't know if it's like the ADHD or what, but meditating, eh, eh, but my, because I've even thought about 2 weeks from now
Oh my
messing
God.
around meditating. But what my therapist actually, I'm gonna say, put me onto is a mindfulness exercise. So I guess in a way it's kind of meditating, but it kind of feels different to me because I am focusing on something other than what I'm thinking about, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
essentially, she's like, sit, or they're like, sit with your feet flat and you like put your fingertips together like this. But it's not to just like have your fingertips together, like apply a little bit of pressure, but not to where it's like uncomfortable or you're saying like your finger's about to fall off.
Hmm.
And then essentially you close your eyes and you focus on the pressure that you're putting on your fingers.
Mm.
However, naturally, you're going to start like feeling things. So the point of the exercise is to not necessarily just to focus on your fingertips, but it's more so to acknowledge the feelings as they come up and like say, okay, I'm feeling this. And like, why am I starting to feel this way? But then ultimately focusing back on your fingertip pressure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like this works for me because I feel like when I'm doing the meditation, my brain just starts to like go other places, or sometimes I fall asleep. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so with this, it's kind of like I have a focal point, right? And it's my fingertips and the pressure that I'm applying to my fingertips. And then like as I'm doing that, I allow myself to just feel things and like acknowledge that I'm feeling things. Cause I think that's also a issue that I personally have is like I dismiss a lot of my feelings. So it's like things will come up and I'll just be like, no, I'm not dealing with that right now. Or You know what I'm saying? Or no, that's not what that like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's petty. Like we're not gonna think about it. But that like forces me to kind of sit in my feelings,
Right. Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah. Yeah.
in a way, and kind of like work through them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say another what thing that I started doing, is I started reading this book. I kind of told you about it.
Yeah.
It's called The Mastery of Self. So just I just started reading it, so I don't know too much about it. But so far I'm on chapter two, which is a win because a lot of times I buy things and then it just sits and I never pick it up. But chapter two is about um it escapes me. Attachments and domestication.
Mm.
And domestication is actually learned behaviors. And so meaning like if the book uses an example of a grandson and his grandmother and they're eating lunch together. And um the grandson like the grandson's eating soup or something like something simple and he's eating the soup, they're having a good time, and then he says, I'm full, I don't want any more, I'm done eating. And the grandmother response first response is, eat your soup, it'll make you strong like a superman, you know. And he's like, no. Like i'm I am I'm good, like I'm not hungry, essentially. Her next response is, if you don't eat the soup, it's like you're you're bad, essentially. Like it's bad if you don't eat the soup. Like you're and then he's like starting to feel bad about it, and she's like, well, there's people that are hungry in the world. And I
Mm.
feel like that's like a learned behavior. So you then start to like essentially it goes on to say the boy grows up and he's out to eat and he's eating food and he gets full, but now he's ignoring. You get what I'm saying? He's ignoring the natural response of his body saying, I'm I'm full. And it's like, no, if I don't eat right now, I'm gonna be bad. Like I'm this
Yeah.
bad person. So it went from domestication to self-domestication because the grandmother instilled that in him that if you don't eat all your food, even if you're full, you're a bad person. And he equated that to his adult life, and I need to overeat. Otherwise,
Right.
I would be a bad person. And then he then projects that onto his friends who are like, I'm full, I'm finished. You need to eat because if you don't eat, you're gonna be bad. And then you know what I'm saying? Like it's like this
Yeah.
whole cycle of things. So I all that to say, a part of my coping now in reading the book is breaking down those things. Like those things that were instilled within me that you would think is not necessarily like a bad thing. Like, for example, I recognize that something as simple as I will sit down and eat a meal and I will not pick up a cup.
Mm.
Why? Because I was taught from a young age when you eat and then you drink.
And then you drink.
You're
Yep.
not about to drink up all that juice. Is a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like these are the
Yeah.
things that we're told. Like you're not about to drink up all that juice. Now, the intention behind it wasn't a negative. It wasn't to say like you're I'm about to dehydrate you. It's more so like you need this food for nutritional purposes, and you're not just about to fill up on juice.
Right.
That makes sense. But the self domestication in me is I'm not going to touch that cup because I need to eat this food first. So it's like things that are small like that. So I'm starting to break those things down. Um, and it goes into just even like transitioning, like back to that topic. Transitioning was unheard of for like a very, I'm not gonna say unheard of, but it wasn't normalized for sure. And it was a
Yeah.
very like taboo thing to do. Um, and so you grow up hearing things like, that's wrong. Why is it wrong? It's like, is that something that truly goes against what I believe, or is it something that I'm doing to Is that something I'm going with to make other people feel good?
Yeah.
Which also goes into mental health too, because it's like you have to live for yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's like living for yourself, sitting in your feelings, breaking those things down, getting resources like books, journaling. Some people actually just look in the mirror and talk to themselves. It if it works, it
Yeah.
works.
Another way of coping, especially as a trans person, is sometimes you have to cut people off. Um, whether it be friends, your family, people who don't respect you for your choice to be your authentic self, people who may misgender you, who refuse to use your pronouns, who refuse to use your chosen name. Like anyone who doesn't support you in your decision to choose you, you don't need that energy. Cut them off. Like that is one of the main types of coping mechanisms that
It's so hard.
it's hard, but anyone can use it.
I
It is
know.
hard. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's easy. It is hard, but you have to think of it this way. Either I choose them or I choose me. For me, that choice isn't hard because I'm going to choose me. Like later for you, I don't care who you are. Like I don't care. If it comes to
Yeah,
my
but you're that's
my
that
mental health, my
that's because you
life, I'm choosing me. You know, then again, that could be me as an older person. Listen, by the
that's
time,
what bingo. That's what I was
yeah,
exactly going to say.
you know,
That's that young
because
face old man,
when
that
you
old
when
man.
you hit when you hit like 40, you start to realize that people don't matter. Like, no.
Yeah, that's
When it
fair.
comes to your sanity, your mental health, your life, the things that you want to do for you and your family, that's all that matters. You don't care what anyone says, does, thinks, like that's on them. What people think about me are their thoughts. How you choose to speak about me is your choice. That doesn't mean I have to participate in it. So the one way that I can keep my sanity is to focus on me.
To bring this to a close, I think it's just important to. I think my final remarks on this whole topic is if you don't have some like professional help, if you don't like writing, you don't like journaling, you don't like half of the things that we said, maybe like try to build community.
Find
Um,
support. Yes.
yes, some type of community, and it doesn't have to be a mental health professional. Like community could look like a strong friend group. Like, and again, that doesn't mean that you have to tell them every single thing. But in those moments where you're like, I'm recognizing that right now I don't need to be alone, you reach out to your community.
Yeah. Because having a support system is imperative. Um, there's some things that people don't want to do alone, even though they may feel alone, they don't want to be alone. Having a support system, a support group, a best friend, a good friend, a neighbor, whomever, someone who can be there to talk or just to listen or just to sit and laugh or cry with you, whatever. Someone who is there when you need them to be and sometimes when you don't want them to be. Like you need some type of support. And I think that's really, really important for bettering your mental health. Knowing that, hey, I'm feeling this way, but I know I'm not alone. I have someone that I can share my feelings with and who know that my feelings are valid and who don't stigmatize me for feeling this way. So, if you can find that, then you have found a gem. Like you support systems are imperative. They really, really are.
If anything that we said resonated with you, or if you have any tips or tricks that you use for coping mechanism when it comes to your own mental health. Go ahead and leave those in the comments. We also have an Instagram page at Candid Couch Convos. You can follow us there.
Also, if you are someone who is going through any type of mental health crisis, I'm going to put some support systems, support groups, or some numbers in the description so that maybe you want to contact them if you need that help. So we always want to leave off making sure that we are a help to someone.
Helping people.
No. Anyway, thank you so much again. Until next time, we'll see you. Peace.